Thank you, Grace, for the introduction. And I want also to welcome all the delegates for today Work at Height Systems training. And much appreciation from us as a company for them having taken their time to join us. We are truly sorry for the initial hitch, but we want to believe that the training will go on smoothly. I also want to take a few minutes as I introduce the training as we wait for the other delegates who are in big number to join us. Nevertheless, I want to believe that by the end of this training, we will have gotten enough information and experience from what we have always been undertaking to understand what is work at height requirements and what is this work at height systems that go hand in hand to protecting you as an individual whenever you are working on any elevation or at any other particular time you are working on heights. So welcome and thank you so much. Basically, I'll take a short introduction on work at height systems so that all of us are on the same page. The course purpose by the end of this training is to teach you on safe working procedures, and then at the same time, we want to make you have an understanding on the use of work at height systems, which some of you will be referring to fall arrest system. And if you have a good understanding of work at height system, then it means as a worker, you are able to perform your duties at height where there exists any risk of a fall or whatever that may be able to lead you to an injury or even fatal. So for us, we want to give you the information that will protect you. Remember, work at height systems training that we are giving you today is part and parcel of the so many trainings you're supposed to undergo. But this one comes in handy to allow you to understand how best you will be able to use your equipment, which we refer to as the system, because a system is a chain of other equipments put together to allow you navigate and have movements from one point to the other. This is what we are referring to as the system. By the end of this training, we want to believe that you'll be able to understand the fall protection system fully, and then at the same time, you'll be able to perform a fall arrest using the correct technique at any time and whenever you are working at height. Very quickly, I want to give you a preamble. I want to assume that you as the delegate, you're working at an elevation. That is the first thing. And even if you're not working at an elevation or on any height, and you are aspiring that in the near future, you will be working on elevation. We're talking about working on a tower, you're talking about poles, you're talking about rooftops. We have these structures in one or the other that you are away from safe ground. So safe ground, we mean that you have moved away any meter from safe ground. And so my assumption is that you as a delegate, you're working in any of these areas. And I also want to believe that as a delegate, you are focusing on fall protection and elimination of hazards in all the areas you are working in. And so, what is work at height? In simple terms, we say that work in any place above or below ground level, where a person can be injured if they fall. We are saying that even on a stool, you are away from safe ground. It's an elevation. We are saying that anything that is above your waist is an elevation. And remember, some of us are working on heights that are from 10 meters, 20 meters, and some of us have even been able to work to heights that are up to 80 meters. And so it is not those who work on 10 meters, 15 and above we are talking to. We are talking to any person working on any elevation, so that you know that there is a risk that is involved on any elevation, and the possibility of an injury the possibility of a fatal case is highly unlikely. And so before we move to work at height systems, there are things you need to understand first, like the standards governing some of the equipments you're using while you're working at height. And so I'm going to talk about EN standards. These are European agreed standards that are used on our equipment, on anchorage points, and even on the fall arrest systems. And so we say that these are documents that have been ratified by 3 European standard organizations. One of the organization is CEN, which is Certified Emergency Nurse. The other organization is CENELEC. This is European Committee for Electrotechnical Standardization. And the third one is ETSI, which is European Telecommunication Standards Institute. These 3 bodies came together, drew up a roadmap of some of the standards that can be applicable worldwide. And any other organization can refer to these standards. They have been tested, they have been measured, and they have been found to be fit to protect any other person. Because remember, when you're working on an elevation, when you're working on height, the distance that you're likely to travel using a faulty equipment, using a faulty system, being on a structure that does not have standards, the chances of injury are very high. And so these bodies represent a model that specifies a technical solution against which a market can trade. And so as we VISCA and the equipments we give out, the training we give out that talks about competency works within this market standard. It codifies the best practice and is usually the state of the art. And so I want to encourage you that as we move forward, get to understand these standards, get to look for them on the equipment you are using, get to look and even read, get more information about these standards, because they'll help you in your line of duty. The number 1 equipment is the helmet. This is the climbing helmet. The standard for the climbing helmet is EN 12492 or EN 397. When you have the correct helmet, remember it has to have a chain strap. This helmet with a chain strap, it has to have the correct weaving. It must be, the chain strap has to be well secured within the helmet, because the chain strap protects the helmet from falling. Remember, when you're working on height, there are several bends you're going to make as you move your position, as you move your body, as you adjust yourself so that you are able to do the work you're supposed to do. And so having the correct helmet that has the standardization mark is the number 1 step to start protecting your head. Remember, your head is the engine at this particular moment. It's the engine that carries the information, the experience, the expertise. And so the first thing you need to do is to have the correct helmet. This has been assumed by several technicians and people working in different sites in the construction industry. You'll find people working without a proper helmet. You'll find people on sites with a helmet that does not have a chain strap to secure the helmet on the head. In the event the helmet falls, then it's highly unlikely that you'll be working without one. And in the event an object, remember when you're working on a structure, most of the objects that are there are either metal, they're either stones or bricks, whatever it is. Any of these, if they happen to fall on your head, then remember the injury is severe and serious. So always remember to have the correct equipment so that as we move into the work at height system, you already know the correct equipment that you're supposed to have as you work. The second one is the full body harness. The standard for the full body harness is EN 361. Please take your time. You can Google this, just enter the word EN 361. It will be able to give you the standard for the full body harness. We are talking about the correct weaving. We are talking about the metal components that are well done and they don't have bend marks. We are talking about no cuts, no abrasions, no stains on this full body harness. Remember that you're supposed to inspect it properly before use and even after use, because the full body harness is what secures most of your weight. It does not matter whether you are 100 kilograms or between 50 to 100 kilograms. A full body harness that has been done properly and meets the manufacturer standards as referred to the standards of EN 361 is supposed to hold your weight properly, and you are also required to trust the equipment that meets this standard. When you are using the wrong full body harness loosely on your body, it does not fit. Either it has been done in a Juakali setup. Remember, you are risking your own life. And that is why we insist that your life is precious. Your life is priceless. The full body harness may be costing a few thousands, but by the end of the day, it is your life we want you to secure. And even for the organization you're working for, the full body harness comes in handy to help you believe in yourself, have confidence in yourself, trust the equipment so that you can go at any length, you can move at any direction, you can go at any heights because you already believe and trust in this full body harness. And so always remember to have the correct standardization mark. The full body harness, the belt holds your waist properly. It must have some gear loops. These gear loops will help you carry extra weight of the items and equipments you want to carry along. And this full body harness must also have the closing, the metal parts that are able to close and be able to secure you must be able to work properly. And always remember, the moment you feel you don't trust this full body harness, trust your instinct. Number 3, the shock absorbing lanyard. This is one among the systems that is connected at the attachment point. When you have a correct full body harness, we have 2 attachment points. The first attachment point is at the back. It has always a letter A. That is an attachment point. And then we have 2 attachment points in front of your full body harness. That is the second attachment point. And so you can use your shock absorbing lanyard to attach, and the correct position always is to attach at the back. The standard for your shock absorbing lanyard is EN 355. You can also check this one, EN 355, as the standard for the shock absorbing lanyard. We always recommend, if it's adjustable, the better, because when you have an adjustable shock absorbing lanyard, then you are able to reduce the fall factor. The best fall factor is fall factor 0. And so at any other time, you have a shock absorbing lanyard that is not adjustable, then it means that you are exposed to that lens. There isn't much you can do to reduce the fall factor, but we always recommend that you have a shock absorbing lanyard that is adjustable. It is one of the best equipments because if you trust it, then this shock absorbing lanyard is what is going to secure you in the event of a slip, in the event of an accident, in the event something happens. Definitely, this is the equipment that is going to hold you onto the structure. It's the one that is going to carry your weight. Remember to inspect it properly. The weaving are correctly in place. The deployment part that carries the shock is also well. The pylon hooks that you always use to hook, make sure that they are correct. They are able to close and open. Remember, they should not be having any bends, because once they have any bends, then it means that this equipment is not good for use. And number 4, we are talking about the work positioning lanyard. The standard for work positioning lanyard is EN 358. This allows you as a worker to work with both hands. This is one of the equipment that frees your both hands. Remember, when you are on height, you have your 2 feet standing very well. You cannot use your one leg because you'll be unstable. And then the other thing you need is to have your both 2 hands able to work. And so the only way to free your hands is to use a work positioning lanyard. This is not a shock absorbing lanyard. Always it is used properly, and as we move forward and as you'll be consuming most of our trainings, you'll be able to understand the best way to use a work positioning lanyard, how to secure it properly. Always make sure when you're using it, you reduce the distance between you and the structure, because that is when you have the confidence with the equipment. And number 5, on the equipments that you'll require as we move to now the work at height system are the 2 round slings. We use the 2 round slings to wrap around on a self-identified anchor point that is big, and the 2 pylon hooks cannot cling on. And so you use the 2 round slings to wrap around that anchor point so that now the pylon hooks are anchored into the 2 slings. Remember, each pylon hook is for 1 round sling. And so you must have the 2 of them. Each round sling carries 220 kilograms. And so for the 2 of them, you'll be having 440 kilograms that they are able to carry. I want to believe none of us is able even to go beyond the 1 round sling, which is 220 kilometers. Most of us are either below that, or if we are above 100 kilograms, then not more than 150. But 1 round sling is able to carry 220 kilograms. And so the 2 of them are taking 440 kilograms. I want you to trust this equipment. It has 1 part of weaving, which you have to inspect and make sure it's correct. It should not have any cuts, and make sure that it is intact. Trust this equipment if they are the correct equipment. The round sling standard is EN 566. You can also check on this one so that you have the confidence on the equipment you are using. My dear delegates, we want to move now to work at height systems and understand how best you are able to use this system to save yourself and even be able to work with a lot of confidence as you deliver the work that you have always been doing to your best. This equipment is coming in handy to help you be able to work with confidence, give quality work, minimize on the time you spend on working as you navigate in one place or the other. The more you get to have confidence in the correct equipment, the longer you are also able to do much work and even bring a lot of value to the organization you work for. And so we are going to look at 5 items. Number 1, we are looking at climbing with double shock absorbing lanyard, which is the best practice we recommend. We're also going to look at climbing with a vertical lifeline. We are going to look at climbing with the retractable lanyard. We are going to look at work positioning, how best to use it. And finally, we are going to look at transporting tools while you're working on height. Work at height systems. Climbing with a double shock absorbing lanyard. Always remember, I've already taken you through the equipment. The correct equipment, and this is a double shock absorbing lanyard. Your helmet is in place. Always remember, with your 2 hands, left hand with 1 pylon hook, right hand with the 2nd pylon hook. Your shock absorbing lanyard should be resting on your right hand above the shoulder. I mean above the shoulder at all times. Why above the shoulder? Because if it rests below your arm, in the event of a slip, the shock absorbing lanyard will rip off your arm. And that is why we recommend at all times the shock absorbing lanyard should rest above your arm. And it is easier for you to use it while you're climbing up because it minimizes distractions. How best do you do it? You take it to the highest point while you are climbing. You move one pylon hook at a time. When you move the first one at the highest point, you move the second one to the same level. Then you climb up until you come to the level of your waist. Is the same level with the pylon hooks where you hooked. That is fall factor 1, which is the safest among the safest, because the safest of all is fall factor 0. When you took the pylon hooks to the highest point, that was fall factor 0. But now when you are climbing up, you go up until the pylon hooks where you had anchored yourself come to the level of the waist. That is fall factor 1. You should never go below fall factor 2. That one is a risky fall factor. You have to maintain fall factor 1, fall factor 0. Then once the pylon hooks have come to the level of your waist, then again you remove and move to the highest point where your hands can reach to a self-identified anchor point that is secure for you. You move the second one to the second level and do the same. You repeat the same system until you get to where you want to work. Remember, once you get to the level where you want to work, the pylon hook or the anchorage of the double shock absorbing lanyard should always remain at the highest point from where you are. It should never be within the same level you are on. It has to be at the highest, so that in the event of a slip, in the event of anything, when they are at the highest, you are at fall factor 0 and you are safe. Always maintain not more than fall factor 1. The hooks must always remain connected at all times. Climbing with a vertical lifeline. This is the second item on work at height system. The first one I was taking you through was when you are climbing using your shock absorbing lanyard. And the best I'll still recommend if you can get adjustable, because the adjustable ones limit the distance you travel. They also make sure that you have a lesser fall factor, and mostly they'll always bring you to fall factor 0 and fall factor 1. When you're climbing with a vertical lifeline, ensure that the fall arrest device is securely fitted to the front attachment point. The front attachment points are already indicated. You will always find them with the letter A. Please go check your full body harness. In the front attachments where you will see indicated letter A, that is the only point the manufacturer is instructing you to link and hook yourself. That is the only part that has been given the weaving and the correct link for you to connect yourself with the harness. Please do not connect yourself to any other part if you have to connect to the double shock absorbing lanyard or on the vertical lifeline. Remember, you connect the fall arrest device on the front attachment or on the back attachment where there is letter A. Ensure that the fall arrest device is not fitted upside down. My dear delegate, before you make the first step upward, always test your device and make sure that it's in the correct position and it's able to hold you. You can do the test while you are still on safe ground, while you are still standing down. because if you have made a mistake of fitting this equipment wrongly or upside down, then you are going to make a correction and fit it correctly. After doing the correct fitting, test again to be sure. Why have you to go through all this process? This device is carrying your life in the event of an accident. Climbing with this vertical lifeline ensures that you have a safe climbing, and this will limit the rope from where it is able to stretch. Remember, you are next to the vertical lifeline structure and you are connected to your body. And so as you climb using your hands and the fall arrest device is free while going upward, this device has been made in such a manner that in the event of a sudden fall, it has an automatic locking mechanism. I want to repeat that: trust the equipment. While climbing with vertical lifeline, also ensure that the distance between you and the rope is not far. You're so close to the vertical lifeline or the temporary lifeline that you will have created. And always the maximum length of a temporary vertical lifeline, we always recommend up to 30 meters. And so if you're able to go up to 30 meters, we recommend this is the best. Remember always to minimize the distance in between. Make sure that you're closer to the structure, believe into the system, believe into the equipment. And if you have inspected this fall arrest device, in some of the structures, for those who are working in the telecom industry, there is a permanent structure that has a permanent fall arrest device that has been done with that permanent lifeline. And so if it is well secured, the first thing is to inspect it, test it, and confirm that it's able to work with you very well before you fit it to yourself to start your movements upward. Number 3, we are talking about climbing with the retractable lanyard. A retractable lanyard allows free movement up and down comfortably. In case of a fall, this equipment has an automatic locking system that limits you from falling. This equipment is the best. At any other time you're working, you will always go up using your double shock absorbing lanyard until you get to the point where you want to do your work. Then you remove your retractable lanyard, secure it properly at an anchor point that you have identified and is strong enough to hold your weight. Once you have secured this retractable lanyard very well, remember to hook it to your attachment point at the back. If you're working from the front, remember to hook the retractable lanyard at the attachment point on your back. And if you are working on the sides, always at the back is the secure point. Once you have hooked yourself with the retractable lanyard, you don't need to have the shock absorbing lanyard again, because these are two systems. You remove your shock absorbing lanyard and you remain on the retractable lanyard, because in the event of a fall, this retractable lanyard has an automatic locking system. It will hold you, it will sustain you, it will suspend you mid-air until a rescue team is able to come and rescue you. While I'm still on the retractable lanyard, remember while you are climbing, different manufacturers have given different specifications regarding this retractable lanyard. Always take time to read the manufacturer's instructions on this particular equipment. Time and again, we have always acquired these equipments. We don't take time to read through those instructions. Those instructions are very critical for you to understand what you are expected to do. And that is why the manufacturer who have been certified to manufacture these equipment are giving those instructions through those documentation for you to be able to read, understand how to use those particular equipment, because you will now be on your own with that equipment. And if you don't read those instructions, then you're exposing yourself to higher risk. One of the risks is that you will not be able to know how best to use that particular equipment. The other risk is you could be using the wrong equipment at a wrong place. The other risk is that that system may be requiring some servicing at a certain particular time. So this requires you to read these instructions from different manufacturers for you to be able to understand the type of equipment. Why are you doing this all the time? It's because of your own safety. You're not working on the ground. Even those people who stand on the ground, they end up falling if they triple on something. But now this one, you're talking about working on a height where a slight mistake brings you some several meters running downward. And when you travel that distance, remember, hitting the ground is not the best thing, because the ground will always be there waiting for any object falling, whether a stone, whether a human being. So the best you can do to yourself is to make sure that you understand the type of the equipment you're using. What does the manufacturer talk about it? What do they say? What should I know? What should I do? And how should I do it? If you're able to understand those equipment you're using and how good they are, then this eases a lot of pressure on you and gives you confidence and self-assurance on the equipment. By the end of the day, you take short time to deliver your work, and even the work you're delivering is quality. I want to talk about, on the same movement, about the horizontal movement. Any other time you are working on a horizontal movement from one side to the other side, I'm talking about people who are working either on rooftop and they have been able to create a horizontal line, or they have found a horizontal anchorage point. When you will be consuming part of our work at height trainings, we'll be able to show you how to do a correct horizontal lifeline for those who work on rooftops, even for those who construct towers, so that when you are at the very top, what are you supposed to do to create a horizontal line that you will secure yourself? At any given time, you are required to remain anchored on something that is securing you. You cannot afford to move while you're on height from one point to the other without securing yourself at one point. That is a serious risk, a serious omission that is not accepted for any person working at height. For the business, you will be also putting the business at risk, because if the inspectors, I'm talking about DOSH, and those responsible will be able to find that you're doing movements without securing yourself, then you're putting the business you work for at risk, because you started putting yourself first at risk. Each life matters at all times. And so remember, when you're having those horizontal movements, at every 2 meters, there must be a stop gap. Why do we say that? So that you make one movement of 2 meters, you confirm you're still safe before you start engaging yourself for the work you're doing. And so remember, time and again, on a horizontal lifeline, where you are going to have horizontal movements from one end to the other, after every 2 meters, there is a stop gap. After every 2 meters, there is a stop gap. Ensure that the component you are using to move from one point to the other is functioning very well, and then at the same time, it is designed for that particular work. Do not use a wrong equipment. Anytime you're using a wrong equipment, then definitely you're risking yourself first before you're risking the business. Make sure that at any time you identify the equipment that is needed, it's the correct equipment, you're applying the correct training based on what we are taking you through. And for those who have been able to consume our Work at Height webinar on basics, then definitely there's a lot of information you've already gathered. And for those who want to move to the next level, we will always recommend that you take a full course of 3 days so that you're able to be an all-round safe person while working. And so these are things that you should not assume. So now I move to the fourth system within the work at height, and this is the work positioning. This is the belt that is always fitted on your waist. It is an additional equipment where you look on your full body harness. We have attachment points that are metallic. We call them D-rings. There are always one on the right and the other one is on the left. This is where you put your work positioning. You tie around the structure. Always make sure that when you tie it around the structure, you have to reduce the distance between you and the structure and be as close as possible. Because the closer you are to the structure, the safer you are, and even you will feel more comfortable. The further you are from the structure, the more the fear in you, the more you are uncomfortable, the more you are insecure. And so the work positioning, which comes in handy to release your both hands. Remember, your full body will be hanging into the shock absorbing lanyard, holding you at the back or even from the front attachment from the top. And the work positioning is holding you at the center, and this is your waist. Correctly fitted full body harness, you will feel the work positioning holding you comfortably. You will feel the confidence to do what you're supposed to do. This work position has a serial number. It is standardized. You can even hook it on one side of the D-ring if you want to bend on one side. And make sure that as you wrap around the structure, then you return it on the same attachment point where one point is also attached. And you can bend on the side. You can do the same whether you want to work on the left-hand side or on the right-hand side. You can do it when you want to bend backward. You can do it when you want to bend forward. You can tie the work position around the structure through your back and back to the D ring that is on the side. And you bend forward. I still repeat, trust the equipment. If it is the correct one with the correct EN standard, then definitely the equipment should be able to hold you comfortably. What makes us fear is when we are using the wrong equipment that does not have standardization. When we are using equipment that you have been using for the last 5 years, it has a lot of cuts, it has a lot of abrasions. The pylon hooks on the sides have some bend marks. When you are using this equipment, definitely it is not going to give you the confidence because of what it is. But if you're using an equipment that you keep on inspecting and is the correct one, you can make any movements on the structure because the equipment is trusted from a trusted supplier, and even for you who is using it, you have been taking good care of this particular equipment and you believe it. When you hook it correctly on the structure, you can tell that if you look at what is showing on your screen, that the delegate there is able to lower a victim. He is standing on his 2 feet comfortably. He is not using one hand holding the structure and the other hand lowering the victim. He is using both hands because all his weight is in the work position, and then at the same time, the double shock absorbing lanyard holding him comfortably at the back. So always remember to have a work positioning whenever you're working on any structure, because this is the equipment or the system that will allow you to free your hands as you work comfortably. I want to talk about transporting tools at height. We have several notes for those who will be taking work at height level 2, and for those who have been able to train with us on either work at height level 2 you are able to understand how to make several notes. But I want to talk about 88 figure. This one you will always be able to create so that it's able to give you 2 anchorage points for those who want to lift equipment. For those who will be able to continue consuming our trainings, we're also going to have an online training with full practicals and demonstrations, because we want to respond to the current system where COVID has created a lot of social distancing. And so we will not let you stay without information and training. And so as we move forward, you'll still be able to consume this. But let me talk about transporting equipment. If you have the correct full body harness, it is supposed to have some gear loops. When you look at that full body harness at the back, you will realize that that full body harness has some gear loops. I'm talking about these are the gear loops on the full body harness. They are meant to transport up to 8 kilograms. I'm talking about the equipment you want to use. You want to take up some spanners, you want to take up some components to go and fix. This can take up to 8 kilograms of weight. Then at the same time, we always provide you with a bag that is used to carry the full body harness. In that particular bag, the bag is strong enough. You can also use it while having it on your back to go up. Remember, do not take a lot of weight on you that is pulling you down. The more you're moving upward, the more you feel the weight. And so we always recommend that as you go up, as you take along equipment, we will recommend that you take a few equipments up the structure, put them at a secure place, then come down and take more. Other than you want to go one trip, carry a lot of equipment with you, they are weighing on your body, you get halfway the journey, you feel you are tired, and you feel that you can release yourself. Remember, some of these structures, at times you're working in different weather environments. Currently, it's very cold, and so the structure is cold. You also need to have some gloves that have some grips. You may be working on within the weather and it's very hot. You're talking about people who are either in Mombasa or coastal areas or in the north part of Kenya where it is too hot. And so if you take with you equipment or a lot of weight, you get halfway the journey, the weight is weighing on you, you are likely to release yourself. This is serious and we always don't recommend. Take few equipments with less weight until you get to your working level. If you need everything and it's within the 8 kilogram, please take with you. But if it is more than that, do not take more weight that is going to bring you down. Take it up, come down for more until you take everything up. Life is never a rush. Take your time to secure yourself and deliver quality work while you are safe. We all want to go back home in the evening, healthy, safe, and sound, the same way we left. But remember, where we have been trained, we will always do the right thing. You are a technician, you are an engineer, you are a mason, you are a contractor, you work in different scenarios, different environments. You work on TV, you are in the media, advertisement, you put up billboards. I'm talking to any person working on height. At any given time when you are pulling anything up, remember that your life comes first and you are able to lift that weight without struggling. Because the body can only take in some weight up to a certain level. Where the body cannot hold it anymore, the body will give in. And that is not the best thing you require. And so take note, 8 kilograms is always recommended. Your gear loops are able to hold it properly and comfortably. Never climb with loose items in your hand. You need those hands for the pylon hooks for the shock absorbing lanyard. You don't need to climb, your one hand is carrying equipment, is carrying some items, then you're using one hand. You are risking your life. Please, please. If you are working in a team and you realize this is what your colleague is doing, don't stay silent. Remind them, please use your two hands while you're going up any structure. If they want to carry things, some of you are having good fitting clothes that have some side pockets. You would rather have that and the equipment in those pockets, other than you're using one hand with a pylon hook, one hand carrying equipment, and you want to go up to 20 meters. This is not recommended. Use the right procedure, use the right equipment, carry the equipment separately. You can use a bag on your shoulders, you can use the gear loops, you can use your pockets, but your hands have to be free at any time while you're going up. Reason being, even if you sleep, the first thing you'll always do is to use your hand to try grabbing any other anchorage point that will always be near. And so if you're climbing with one hand holding tools and one hand you're hooking up, you are likely not to do the correct thing. And so always do the right thing at all times. This is what we always say while you're working at height. The best thing, do not fall. Remember the best fall protection. Don't fall, my brother. Don't fall, my sister. That is the best fall protection. Go up, work safely, come down safely. You have not fallen. We say kudos when that happens. But in the event that you fall, we always recommend that within the team, somebody must have undergone first aid. And whoever has undergone first aid, you are not a doctor. You're only supposed to perform what you were taught in first aid. Bring down the patient safely, put them in the correct position, make sure you contact whoever is supposed to be contacted. You have emergency lines. This other information about what you need to do to prepare yourself will be coming up in the next training. Next week on Friday, we are having what you need to understand in fall protection plan. And fall protection plan is what helps you understand what, when, where, how, and what. If you're able to understand the fall protection plan, then your working at height is going to be as easy as the same work you are doing. Dear delegates, do not fall. Thank you. Any questions? Any comments?
Thank you so much, Richard. That was very educative, and I hope everyone has been able to learn about how to protect themselves from falling. I don't know if there are any questions, any comments. I can't see anything on the public chat. So far, Richard, I cannot be able to see any question.
Maybe you're on mute. If somebody wants to talk, if they want, they raise their hand. You can raise your hand, you can throw a chat. I can see several chats. Look at those chats and see what is happening, then we can respond.
That was very informative from Wellington. Engineer says thank you. Patrick has said share notes, please. Gideon, good presentation. Kennedy, will you share the notes? Yes, we will. We'll also share the recording. Yeah, I think those are the only ones.
Samuel Kamau. Thank you guys for the good comments. We highly appreciate. We're looking forward to have the next session next week, which will be covering on fall protection plan. You cannot afford to miss this, because in fall protection plan, this is where you plan everything. This is where you arrange everything that you require before you move on site. It is one of my best topics in working at height, and I always enjoy it. Looking forward to see you delegates in the next session next week on Friday. We want to work around everything, and we are truly sorry for the initial hitch that happened. Next time, things will be good. If there isn't any other question or comment, thank you and bye-bye for now.
Yeah, there's someone asking about certificates. Yes, we will issue you certificates after the course. Yeah, I think that is all. You can also check our social media platforms for details on other webinars. Our Facebook is Visca Industrial Capacity Limited. Our Twitter is Visca @ViscaKE. Our LinkedIn is Visca Industrial Capacity Limited. So keep checking our social media platforms. You can come across other webinars that you're interested in. We will share details on how to register for the fall protection as we send the recording and the presentation for today. Thank you so much and have a lovely evening.
Before you go, Kiplimo Kennedy is asking any exams. Kiplimo, on your email, in the next few minutes, a few questions are coming over, and please answer them correctly. I want to test if you got it right. Thank you.
All right, thank you guys. Have a lovely evening.
Next
Goodbye.
session next week, Friday, tell them.
Yes, please don't forget about next week's session on Friday. We'll send you more details on how to register by today evening. Thank you.